Hello, everyone. Today, I very much would like to feel some hope, although it's challenging, following Senator Cory Booker's historic marathon speech that lasted over 25 hours on the floor of the Senate, trying to revive America as we would like it to be, truly land of the free and home of the brave. It is already a historic event in and of itself. I very much hope it has some effect on both Senator Booker's colleagues in the Senate on both sides of the aisle and outside of it. But as you might imagine, it's hard to feel hope when you've been covering something like the war of Ukraine every day over 3 years, especially with loved ones at stake. So, here we go again. Putin declares another round of conscriptions. This one is one of the biggest over the last years, actually biggest since 2011. And the reasons are obvious. But my question is to the people of Russia, aren't you tired of this bullshit? So this is men aged 18 to 30. This is your future, your workforce. This is men who will not go to college, will not amount to anything, will not work, will not start families, will not invent anything, build anything, write anything. Their only career item on their resume will be cannon fodder in Ukraine. Now, they're saying, the Russian government is saying that these conscripts will not be sent to fight in Ukraine, but we all know that's bullshit. We all know that is not going to be true, because remember, this is the same government that told men in India that they were coming to Russia to get secure jobs, high-paying jobs, and secure position before they could settle there with their families. These are the same men who somehow convinced men from North Korea that they were just coming in for some military training, some exercises. And those men ended up in body bags. And some of them never came home because of the cover-up of true casualties conducted by the Russian government. So why anyone in their right mind would believe the Russian government when it says, oh, we're not going to send your boys to fight in Ukraine? And again, anybody who says, well, NATO is stepping on Putin's toes, I invite you to pull up the history of Russian aggression and pull up the history of NATO. And you figure out, date by date, the cause and effect. Because it's a little bit the other way around. The expansion of NATO, every single time, took place because Russia had another itch to scratch and engaged in hostilities with its neighbors. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy on Russia's part. Every time Russia starts invading somebody, other countries are saying, shit, this is crap. I want to not be at risk of that. I'm joining NATO. They continue to show in Russia no remorse and no responsibility whatsoever for what they have done, either to the people of Ukraine or to the people of any other of their neighbors that they have mistreated. Case in point, Russia is complaining that Ukraine has violated a ceasefire. First of all, let's not forget, nobody had seen the specific terms of the ceasefire. Did they actually ever sign anything? Was there like a formal agreement, or was it a handshake? Second of all, Russia has been pounding Ukrainian civilians and Ukrainian infrastructure non-stop. Ukraine basically just continued its campaign of hitting only military objects. Russia continues murdering Ukrainian civilians. So what the fuck are they complaining about? This is what happens, by the way, when you try to concoct some kind of haphazard something to put a feather in your cap, to say, ooh, I brokered a peace between Russia and Ukraine. Ooh, I brokered a ceasefire. When you don't know what you're talking about and you don't understand the complexities of the situation. This is exactly what happened. This is meaningless. Meanwhile, people continue to die. Civilians in Ukraine continue to die. Homes are destroyed. Businesses are destroyed. Hospitals are destroyed. My parents are being targeted. Other people's parents and children are being targeted. And yeah, of course, Russia is not going to accept U.S. peace plan. Of course they're not. You know why? Because it doesn't include capitulation by Ukraine. That's why. If you strip away everything else, this is what it boils down to. Russia wants Ukraine to surrender. Not just the occupied territories, but in its entirety. Just to save time later so that they wouldn't have to continue invading Ukraine, which is what they really want. So, no peace plan that does not include that is going to be satisfactory to them. Which is why I don't understand why anybody's still wasting time with them on that bullshit. You cannot make peace with them. You have to drive them out by force. They do not understand any other language. Again, this is not just a statement. This is not a generalization. This is based on historic facts. Go look up the history of Russia's expansion. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad that U.S. is starting to build some frustration, and not just at the White House, but when it comes to the U.S. government. Hello, legislative branch, I'm looking at you, kid. So there is now a rare bipartisan move to impose more sanctions on Russia, since Russia is refusing to engage in any sort of good faith effort and prove it. Because here's the thing, folks. So, you know what would have been fabulous? If, for example, Russia demonstrated their willingness to engage in peace conversations by stopping bombing Ukrainian civilians for a week. Just don't fire on anybody. Engage military actions only, where the troops are on the ground, great. But no bombing Zaporizhia, no bombing Kherson, no bombing Kharkiv, no bombing Kiev, no bombing Odessa, no bombing Dnipro. That would be a fantastic show of good faith. So far, no dice. And I'm glad there are more voices that are saying, you know what, maybe we should stop playing footsie with Russia. Maybe we should really see who the aggressor is in the situation. So, as I said, I would like to feel some hope today. More to come.